Well, the Emperor has reviewed the situation and concluded that there's actually nothing to be done, so he's just going to have a one-to-one attack here. Let's go ahead and... I wish I could do something about that. Maybe I need to make a bigger... make a something to make that stand out. I don't want to make that mistake again on another turn. Maybe I'll do something just quick. Right, marvellous what we can do with a little bit of application. So what we've got is, let's do this. Wow, look at the spectacular cinematography. Now, Femme Sound is standing out a bit more. So going back to the normal what's it? There we are. Right, so I don't think I'll forget now. That's all we needed was a little bit of imagination. Right. So that can, that's a one-to-one. Right, so I'm going to start off down here where we have another slog at Hougoumont. And so as we can see, we've got 7-4 and 5-4 attacking for a total of 12. They could be bombarded as well by the artillery, but there's no need. And they themselves are worth 3, and they get a +3 under the amendments because they are defending in the building. And there's also a +1 on the die because they are shielded Anglo-allies. Okay, so roll it up. So it's a 2-to-1 with a +1. So let's see what we get. Good shake. And we get 2, which becomes a 3, which is a defender retreat, and shielded defenders in buildings can ignore defender retreat, and sure enough, they ignore it. Right, well, at least the French didn't have to retreat this time. Not that it made much difference last time, quite frankly, but they could, I suppose, in the next turn, they could change things, and they could, go forward and attack. Or actually, they can't do that, can they? No, they have to attack because they're in zone of control. So there we are. Yes, right. Okay, so then we move on. Let's move on to the next attack then. So the artillery here are not bombarding anyone. These chaps down here are too far away. So that takes us up to this situation here. So we have, they can bombard them, as we've established. So therefore we've got 5 and 5, which is worth 10. They're attacking them. They are worth 3, +3 for the building. And then, so they're worth 6. So it's 10 against 6. So that is 1-to-1 on this combat results table. So it's 1-to-1 with a +1. And let's see what we get. Give it a good shake. 1-to-1 with a +1. And we get 6, which is bad for the French. So that still rounds off to 6. So it's 1-to-1 with a 6. So that is attacker retreat. Okay, let's do that. Sort that out. Right, now over here with the heavy cavalry. For once, the French now get an interesting tactical advantage because, let's see, where's my pointer? Right, because they have cavalry with them attacking here. So they're being attacked by the infantry, the artillery, and also the cavalry. Okay, so because the cavalry are attacking, that gives us a -1 on the die, and -1 if attackers include French cavalry. And none of the defenders get a wood or building bonus. Right, so that's certainly the situation here. Notice it was French cavalry. Okay, so that's going to be, as we said, it's going to be 3-to-1 with a -1 on the die this time. So let's see, for heaven's sake, if we can come up with something. Well, we got a 4, sort of average sort of a thing. We'll take that down to a 3 then with a -1. So we've got 3-to-1 with a 3 which is, well, at least it's defend a retreat. We've actually got a retreating Anglo-Allied unit, and let's sort that out. And there you have it. The chaps, let's see, they were here, and they've retreated to here. So, this is something I haven't had to worry about yet. The chaps on the ground here now are going to have to decide whether or not they want to advance after combat, aren't they? Yes, let's sort that out. Okay, so what we see is the infantry, the 4th Division of the 1st Corps, Delon again. It was just them. They went ahead and advanced to here. They could have advanced as well because they were involved in the attack. They, for example, could have advanced to here. But that looked like they were sticking their necks out a bit too far. And this is interesting, of course, because I don't think this has come up before, at least for the French commander. Because, of course, now it means that in the forthcoming Anglo-Allied turn, these two units here are in zone of control, and so they must attack. Although I think possibly, I'm not sure, I think possibly there is a Sabin amendment which may allow them the special circumstance of moving like 1 hex out of the zone of control. I'd better check on that right now. I think I'll check on that right now, because normally they'd be there, they'd be stuck to them with this sort of sticky zone of control, and they'd have to attack them. So I'm going to take a look and sort that out. Yes, I did remember correctly. If a cavalry unit is in an enemy zone of control of enemy infantry or artillery, it can make a special move of just 1 hex into a vacant or vacated hex, which is not in enemy zone of control. And it can do this even if it starts out next to enemy cavalry. So here, for example, we have a particular case where he is going to be able to make that move because he's next to enemy infantry. We note that he's also next to enemy cavalry. If he was only next to enemy cavalry, he would not be able to make this move, because, as we can imagine, that simulates he can't slink away with the cavalry right there, because they could keep up with him, as it were. But he can slink away because there's enemy infantry here, so he can move into a hex that is vacant or vacated, and is not in enemy zone of control. So if things were still like this, he could move to that hex there. And in doing that, that's his move. He can't move any further. And also, the British in this example would not then be able to move someone else into that hex. That hex has to be left empty. He here has just got infantry in front of him, so he can also do the same thing. He would be able to move to this hex if it was still vacant. Or he would be able to move to that hex, for example. And then no one will be able to move in that hex. So the idea here is it's simulating cavalry screening and falling back in a measured way to delay the enemy. So they will be able to get out of that pickle, because it would have been a right pickle for them if they stayed there. Or the idea was, I mean, when the French commander, which is to say the emperor, was making the move, the idea was that it was going to put the Anglo-Allies in a tough position where they would have units that had to attack, and so that would mean that they would probably have to throw in some other troops, ideally by moving in some troops that are currently shielded and would no longer be shielded. But that's not going to be the case. Or, well, I mean, if he pulls back, that won't be the case. So anyway, I believe that is, in fact, the end of the French turn. Yes, and here, His Grace the Duke has made light work of the Anglo-Allied turn 2, which is to say 2:30 p.m. As expected, the two heavy cavalry units were withdrawn, or they've fallen back. I think that's what we would call it, So they've fallen back to this position here and this position here, okay? They were able to make that special 1 hex move that is available under the Sabin amendments. No attacks are being made. Really, it seems to be the only the only circumstances under which the Anglo-Allies would want to attack would be if they saw something that was just too good of an opportunity to pass up. And really, you were talking about doing that with the heavy cavalry divisions, because everybody else is just very happy about the fact that they're shielded and they're not going to move. Therefore, there was actually no other movement. The defensive position seems to be holding up quite well, and so then we just finally come to the combat, which is not particularly dramatic. We have got, let's see, this artillery unit here and here. They're going to bombard this infantry unit here, and then these chaps are going in La Sainte are going to bombard these chaps here. So from here and here against there, that's 5 against 4. That'll be a 1-to-1, and from here to here, that will indeed be a 1-to-2. So, and of course, bombarding artillery can't have any negative consequences affecting them from the attack. They're firing at a range. So we'll do the what is that? The westmost version, westmost engagement first. So these two against them, right? So it's 1-to-1 with no modifiers, right? Let's see what we get. 1-to-1 with no modifiers, and that's a bad result for the attacker. That gives you attacker retreat, but we ignore that because they are bombarding artillery. And then we'll do the 1-to-2, which is the only other one, and 1-to-2 with a 4. So 1-to-2 with a 4 is attacker retreat, which we ignore because they're bombarding artillery. So whoop-de-doo. I mean, that's, there's a certain amount of desultory fire. Yes, didn't even scratch the paintwork on that one. Right, so that is indeed the end of turn 2. And so now we go to turn 3. So it's now going to be 4 o'clock. So I will just flip this chappy over to the French side. And where are my tweezers? Right, we'll go over there. We're at 4 o'clock now. And as you can see from the casualty chart here, there are no casualties. So we're on to the third turn with no casualties. And let's see what happens. Exciting things happen in this turn. In that, the French carry on slogging northward. And but of course, we get the first group of Prussian reinforcements are going to come pouring onto the field from the east, bursting out of the, the Paris wood. And so we've got 6 units, as we can see there. Those chaps are going to be coming on in the Anglo-Allied turn. Very well, very well. Okay, so here we are. It's 4 p.m., 18th June, 1815. And we've got the third French move has been completed. What has the Emperor done? Well, over on the French left, we have an attack going in here. So we've got 2 cavalry divisions, the Guard Heavy and these chaps here, which are, let's see, 12C, I would imagine that's 12th Cuirassier, shall we say. So we've got these 2 chaps here are going in against the British Right Reserve. Okay. Now they're going in there. Of course, that means they're in zone of control of the artillery here. So somebody has to attack them. And that's where these chaps come in. So the artillery will bombard them to satisfy that requirement. So at least they've got a 2-to-1. And of course, they have the -1 because they are French cavalry attacking. Right. Under the amendments. Here we've got, again, we're slogging away, attacking Hougoumont. with 12 against a defensive 6, because they get +3 under the amendments for being in the building. And they get a +1 because they're shielded. Let's see, we also had the remaining cavalry that was in play over here. It's just sort of moved up in this position to sort of take care of the flank, basically. They couldn't move any further across because those 4 hexes have to remain clear of French units in the amendments. Then down here, this is a major stroke, really, that this unit here from Delon's First Corps, actually, just 1 second. No, I don't believe it is. No, I'm pretty sure it's not. Let's see if we can focus in on that close enough to be able to read the thing. No, it's the Second Corps, right? So these chaps have come down from here, and they're skirting around the woods here in front of Hougoumont, south of Hougoumont. They're going to come around here, hopefully in the next turn, and be able to get finally to that position there, which will then contribute extra forces over here. What we could do is we could then use them to bombard and them to attack, and then we'd be able to hopefully get a 3-to-1 going on there. So, moving down the line, as we said, these are going to be bombarding there to be able to take care of the zone of control issue there. These chaps have remained in situ, just keeping an eye on things. They've reviewed the situation and found nowhere worth attacking. There was actually, before these chaps moved south down here, that we did examine one scenario which had 2 4-4s attacking these here. 2 4-4s, of course, would attacking these chaps. These are not in a building, so that would have been 4-to-1. But under the amendments, if let's see, if the defenders are shielded, then the maximum you can get is 3-to-1. So that was called off, and instead they were sent down there. So those 2 units are just sort of catching their breath at the moment. These chaps are being employed to bombard because we've an attack going in here from these infantry going straight at the heavy reserve British cavalry here. They're going in there, so therefore someone has to attack them, and that's where the Grand Battery comes in, attacking those chaps to satisfy that requirement. Down here we have 2 more attacks, a lot of attacks. We've got the Guard Light Cavalry has come down the flank here to attack the left reserve cavalry here, so that's a 1-to-1, but the improvement there is that the French have the -1 because they're French cavalry attacking. And then down here, we've actually got 3 units are attacking the General Reserve Cavalry, the heavy cavalry here. We've got the infantry and the cavalry up front. And because the attack includes French cavalry, they don't all have to be French cavalry, but they get a -1 there, so that's -1 on that attack, and the attack is actually being executed by these 3 units. We've got the artillery and support here, so they have a total of 9. What have we got? Yes. 9 combat factors against them, so it's 2-to-1 with a -1, so, not bad. We'll see what we can get out of that. And well, I say here's to it. Right, so if we start off down on the French left, with the attack going in against the right reserve cavalry there, okay, so it's 2-to-1 with a -1 because the attack includes French cavalry. And oh boy, they've rolled a 6, so -1, so it's 2-to-1 with the, now, that's an elimination. Sorry, that's an exchange. But that becomes, under the amendments, that becomes a defender retreat if all the defenders are cavalry. Right, so let's execute that.